Hi, Ron Gautam, aka The Seeker of Wisdom. I'm a manifestation coach, and in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about why certain things manifest faster than others. Now, before I do so, I'd like to remind you guys I am available for coaching, so I offer hourly, monthly, email, and DM coaching, along with premium coaching right now, which is basically unlimited calls and unlimited DMs. Now, the link for that will be in the description down below, where you'll have access to an FAQ page where you guys can find all the answers you need, and thereafter, you guys can reach out to me via Instagram or email for pricing information and to figure out which plan may be suitable for you. I also have a Facebook group where I upload resources from time to time, as well as my you guys can ask me questions anonymously if you wish to do so. I also have a mailing list where I post articles from time to time, as well as my latest offers for coaching. And last but not least, I also have a Manifest Your SP course, which is now bundled with Remove Your Third Party course right now, along with the third party course being sold separately as a mini course as well. Right, so those of you who have already purchased the Manifest Your SP course will also get the Remove Your Third Party course for free. So this is what I always say, right? Like the Manifest Your SP course is going to be a big course which has everything to do with manifesting your SP, and a part of it is of course removing your third party and everything, right? So people have gotten this update for free. So yeah, and I am bumping up the prices accordingly for anyone who's going to be purchasing the Manifest Your SP course, which is now bundled with the third party course as well. So yeah, like this is what I always tell people, like like if you guys purchase it right now, you guys are getting it for a steal, because the prices are always going to be constantly be updating, and you're going to miss out on the free updates, right? So definitely, if you guys are looking for a course that's being constantly updated, that's being constantly revamped all the time, Manifest Your SP course is it. It's gonna go for much higher prices as I'm updating the content. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. And if you guys want to purchase the Remove Your Third Party course, in it won't be available in any website, so you have to email me and I will guide you through that process as well. So be sure to email me if you have any queries on that, guys. So without further ado, let's get to it. So what kind of prompted this video was a lot of my clients have been bringing this up, right? Like, why can I manifest certain things faster compared to others, right? And of course, as many of you may come to expect, it's all pertaining to SP, right? With all regards to SP, but there are some other desires as well with some of my clients that it kind of came up, and I thought, what, it's about time that I talk about it. So and just for context, right, like I don't script any of my videos. Like I literally came up with this idea just like 5-10 minutes before I even click record. So if I'm like all over the place, or if it feels like that, just know that this video is not scripted. I just want to put it out there. So yeah, and this is something that has been on my mind for a while as well, and I really want to talk about it. So I guess the first reason that I could think of is preconceived notions or limiting beliefs, if you will, right? When it comes to SP especially, right? Like a lot of people ask me, why can I manifest a text from a friend or a relative, or even my sibling, but not from my SP? I'm doing the same things, but I'm not getting the same results. So where exactly am I going wrong? Now, in my, like, when it comes to self concept, right? Like I always tell people, I always tell my clients, like, you don't have the same self concept for all areas of your life, right? And the same thing here as well, when it comes to your self concept, when it comes to people in general, may not be equal to your self concept when it comes to your SP, right? And this is something that you need to wrap your mind around, right? You have different self concepts for different areas of your life, therefore the preconceived notions are different there, right? So for someone, maybe a friend, you will be like, of course they're going to call me, why wouldn't they? Part of you may be confident, but with SP you're like, okay, are they going to, will this happen, and you have like these kinds of doubts, which is really going to obviously affect the outcome, right? Because you have a lot of preconceived notions there, right? And SP is generally kind of slightly elevated compared to others in your life, right? So kind of having them on a slightly elevated, not saying you're putting them on a pedestal per se, but it's like somewhere they hold a higher level of importance, right? And you have to be aware of that, right? So the approach may not be the exact same as you would manifest like a text or something from a friend or an average Joe, for example, right? The process is going to be different. So, right off the bat, what I would say is that don't expect, the same type of cookie cutter approach to work for all areas of your life. Like, go out there, experiment, journal, write your observations down, make it like a science experiment, like literally, like, do things and experiment. Like, don't just, like try to repeat the same thing and, not get any results, right? Because again, maybe visualizing works for, like getting a text from, your friends, but that may not necessarily work with SP, for example. So you may need to, affirm, or you may need to script it down. Go ahead and try it. But, long story short, like the answer to some of these questions is you have different preconceived notions. So I would also, take time to kind of reflect on this, like, and think about, okay, what are the preconceived notions I have? What are the limiting beliefs that I have here, right? It may, go back to, like, oh, they may not like me, or they don't want to, talk to me, or, maybe they are mad at me and things like that, right? So you have to go and like resolve all those things so that you kind of have a boost, and, you are coming at it from the perspective of, of course they're going to text me, like, why wouldn't they? Right? So when you're coming at it from that perspective, you're also kind of detached from the outcome, so it comes to you easily, right? So definitely look at your limiting beliefs or your preconceived notions, and what kind of thoughts you have when it comes to your SP not texting you, for example, right? So this applies to anything else as well. If you find yourself manifesting other things easily except one particular thing, ask yourself, what are you doing differently there, or what are you thinking differently there? That will really shed light on a lot of these things, right? So definitely look into your thoughts, be aware. And that leads me to, like, one thing you guys can do, like I mentioned earlier, was to journal, right? Make it like, like reflect on, every single day, like reflect on your thoughts. Where are your thoughts at? Where do you stand? A lot of people often tend to use feelings as a way of progress, but if you guys think about, feelings are a poor way of measuring your progress, right? um, it's literally like using the wrong equipment to measure your progress, basically, right? It's not going to give you an accurate information, right? Like, okay, this might not be the best analogy in the world, but think about it like, okay, I don't know what this is called right now, I feel so yeah, but those things where you guys can measure volts, right? Like in AC or DC, I'm not sure of the exact name, but basically when you have the positive and the negative, right? Like you can measure the volts in AC or DC, and it will show you completely different readings, right? So like what you guys are measuring in, if let's say AC is maybe feelings, and DC is thoughts, right? You need to kind of like turn it and measure your progress through the quality of your thoughts instead of your feelings, because feelings aren't will not show you an accurate data, right? So always remember that, right? Like only use the quality of your thoughts to measure your progress. So definitely um, reflect and journal these things so that you guys gain a clearer understanding of that. And I feel like this will really help you to kind of get to the root of the problem, right? And it also help you to really kind of figure out, okay, I didn't even realize like this thought was there, I didn't even realize like I was thinking this way, right? And also you guys, therefore, as you're journaling and everything, right, you guys can like see like, okay, how do you think for maybe one aspect of your life that you're manifesting with ease compared to another area where you're struggling, right? So you guys can do that comparison, right? So it's all about the preconceived notion. That's one big thing. And the other thing that could really kind of affect why you manifest things, like why certain things comes to you faster, is because um, it could stem from your childhood beliefs, right? Like if you really kind of look at it like, okay, maybe as a child you were told like certain things were easier to achieve than others, right? So you may think, well, this is easier, this isn't, right? Like, and so that kind of built up over the years. And it can come in the form of talents, right? Maybe in certain areas you feel or you have felt ever since you were a kid that you thrived, right? But when it comes to this particular area, right, you may not think that you're good at it, and that has been reinforced to you several times. So when it finally comes to things like SP or money, it's like kind of like a knee-jerking kind of moment, right? Like you are like, oh no, like where am I going to go from here type of thing. And it seems like whatever that you have been doing to gain success with other areas of your life doesn't work here, right? So a lot of childhood beliefs can be here as well. So definitely like again, like journaling really helps, or just like kind of just sitting down and thinking about this, and analyzing it, and like thinking, okay, what are my thoughts with regards to this, and where is it coming from? Is it coming from my childhood? If so, what incident? And you can always use the 5 W's and 1 H to kind of identify this. But again, like one of the reasons definitely could be childhood related incidents, and like because many people have like childhood traumas and things like that, right? So even those types of things could prevent something from getting to us faster, right? And the other thing that I often realize, why some things comes to you faster compared to other things, is because the things that comes to you very fast, right? Like guys, people don't think how. People don't think about the how too much for those types of things, right? So for example, right, with regards to like a text from a friend, let's go back to that example, right? You're not going to be thinking sitting there, how are they going to text you? You get what I mean? But that's not the same for SP. If you really sit down and think about it, like basically with regards to a friend, right? Like you will be like, oh, okay, cool, they're going to text me, and like boom, it comes, right? Or you just think about them, but you're not going into the detail of how are they going to text me, how are they going to remember me, what could trigger the memory of me in them, and things like that. You're not going to do that. But when it comes to SP, guess what? That's exactly what you're doing. Like that's a lot of my clients will like come to me and like be like, okay, why would SP want to text me now though? I don't get it. Like why would he want to text me now? Because I'm pretty sure he is mad at me for XYZ. So I don't think he will. You don't do that kind of analysis when it comes to someone like that you're just like having a fleeting thought about, right? Like a friend or relative, for example. So you don't think about the how for the things that you manifest with ease, right? So this is why coaches always say don't think about the how, right? This is why even Neville says it, right? The OG, right? And I always come at it from like the perspective that Neville puts it very beautifully, right? The Lord knows ways and means which we know not of, or something along those lines, right? And I love that quote, because it really pretty much summarizes like why we don't care about the how, because we don't know all the ways, right? I've always mentioned this example is basically, if you are the one who's navigating through the maze of life, the higher self is the one that looks at it from above. So definitely look at it from that perspective, and I feel like that will really really help you guys. So don't think about the how when it comes to your desires, right? Sitting here, put it this way, right? Like sitting here and over analyzing it isn't going to do jack shit for you. Like I'm just going to put it out there, right? Like it's not going to do anything. So you just go by your life, you just assume, and it will come to you, right? Like that's it. Because you are not doing the same thing for your friends or your family's text, so why do that for your SP, right? So this is how you kind of separate your the desires that you really really want compared to the things that you manifest with ease, right? This is how you kind of distinguish those things in your mind, right? Because with SP, I know for a fact that people do think about the how quite a bit, right? Because they will be like, okay, well, what's going on in their mind? I wonder, if they may text me during this time, or I wonder why aren't they doing this, and things like that. You don't do that for others. So simply don't even question it, just claim it to be yours. Okay, they are texting me, or they have texted me, past or present tense, right? You just affirm that way and just leave it. So one of the reasons why things manifest faster for some things is because we don't question the how, and it just comes to us easily, right? But for other things, the things that we really really want, sometimes we really tend to like sit down and focus on the how so much that we are putting pressure on the situation. You need to kind of take a step back by just claiming it to be yours, trusting the process, and by just going through your life, and before you know it, it's already there, right? So that's the way you should kind of take it from, right? So another thing is, right, like checking 3D, right? Checking 3D, again, it kind of falls under the whole, like, as you are thinking about the how and whatnot, this kind of bleeds into checking 3D potentially, right? It's not as so much as don't check the 3D. It's more about your thought process that kind of goes into your mind as you're thinking, as you're checking 3D basically, right? As you're checking the 3D, you are reinforcing, sorry, yeah, you're reinforcing the lack, right? You are reinforcing that this isn't here yet. Where is it? Is it coming? Right? You are reinforcing that the outside is somehow separate from you, therefore it is an unknown element, when we know as conscious manifestors that everything is you pushed out, right? So these, but when it comes to like maybe just manifesting a random text from a person, you're not checking the 3D, you're not checking your phone, hey, have they texted me or something? No, you don't do that. Even with your best friends, right? You don't do those types of things. You're not over analyzing every single one of your moves. You're not checking the 3D constantly to see, okay, have they texted me, or things like that, right? And this is why it's easier to manifest the other things compared to this, because you're putting so much pressure on it, you're over analyzing it, right? And you're thinking things that you don't even need to think about. So checking 3D definitely falls into one of those things that you don't even have to do, right? So because it really leads to unfavorable thinking, so it's better to refrain from that essentially. So definitely if you are one of those people who are doing that for your desires, not just for manifesting a text or manifesting SP per se, but like even with like jobs or things like that, like don't be constantly be checking the 3D, don't be scouring through pages, or don't be discussing it with like people who can potentially bring you down, right? Mute out the noise, right? Shut the door, right? Basically like deny the evidences that your senses show, right? Because why? Because subconscious do not have any eyes. It only like feeds on your thoughts, basically the quality of your thoughts and what you see in your mind, right? So feed it favorable things. So these are potentially things that really affects the speed at which your manifestation comes, right? And speaking of speed, why some things comes to you faster is because you feel your desires as natural as possible, even without you trying sometimes, right? So Neville always talks about how for things to manifest quickly, right? Like feeling it natural is directly proportionate to the time taken for it to arrive in your world, right? So if you assume something to be yours as natural as possible, right, the easier it is for you, the faster it comes, right? So the more natural you feel your desires, the faster your desires come to you. So essentially what you're supposed to do for your desires is to feel it real in your mind, right? Is to feel it real, and to assume that that is already yours, again regardless of what you see or don't see in the 3D. So you have to come at this from the perspective that, okay, you know what, regardless of what I see or I don't see, right, I'm going to assume that my desires are a done deal, right? So if let's say a person is broke, for example, and the person wants to be a millionaire, the true test is for the person to basically assume that he or she is already a millionaire, right? And when they do that, right, consistently, the bridge of incidents will unfold, and before they know it, they're already a millionaire, right? It may be through a lottery, but it doesn't have to be necessarily from a lottery, right? We often see like YouTubers going around and like helping out like like struggling business owners, or even like giving a homeless person a makeover and giving them like a couple of days stay in the motel so that they can go for an interview or something like that. We have seen like several different videos of that, right? So I'm not saying that's the only way it happens, but I'm just saying, right, like those folks may not have necessarily thought about that as an option, but these YouTubers like came out of nowhere. They wanted to make content, right? They wanted to help someone, they wanted to bless someone's life, and the bridge of incidents just unfolded, right? When those homeless people get like help from these guys, like they manifested that 100%, right? So you never know how it may come to you, so you just have to claim it boldly, right? So you just have to claim things boldly, right? And you have to feel it real in your mind, right? So how, and that's the question that a lot of people ask me is, well, how do I feel things real in my mind? What exactly do I do to feel things real in my mind, right? So Neville talks about this, right? Like he talks about the concept of sensory vividness, which is basically using your five senses to kind of enhance your visualizations or your imaginary scenes, or even just like, even if you're not seeing anything, right, you can also imagine like the smell, the touch, the warmth of the light that's hitting your skin and things like that, right? I always imagine, like I always tell people to do this as well, like if they are in their dream house or something, I'd be like, okay, think about the window where the god rays just hits the floor, right, at the certain time of the day, and I want you to go and stand right there and feel the warmth of the sun that's hitting you right through the window. Like, how does that feel, right? I even tell some of my clients to, like, I was talking about this recently as well, like to go and like vacuum your dream house, for example, right? Because what happens is that as you're going through that motion in your mind, through every nook and cranny, you're feeling every corner, every edge of the wall, the surface of the wall and things like that, or the floor. And what happens is that you giving it sensory vividness, right? Because as you're vacuuming, there's a certain smell, right? You're dragging, and that motion can be felt in your mind as well, right? So that is giving sensory vividness. You are thinking from your desire rather than of your desire. You're not looking at your desire from a longing perspective, and you're not saying like, okay, will this ever happen to me? That's not where you're coming at it from. Rather, you are coming at it from, okay, this is already mine, I'm fully immersed in it, type of thing, right? Think of it like wearing like a pair of VR goggles. So maybe that can help you, but it's really feeling it natural, right? One of the five senses that Neville really kind of emphasizes is the sense of touch, right? I've heard it in one of his recent one of the lectures that I heard recently. So like he was talking about it, like touch is something that's something that he uses a lot apparently, right? So he was explaining how the sense of touch is very like immersive for him. So he uses the sense of touch, right? Like him touching surfaces and things like that, I guess. So that really, really helps for him. So if maybe sense of smell can help you, but use those things to kind of feel your desires real, immerse yourself in those scenes, right? And if you are like, well, visualizing is hard for me, or if imagining and holding it for a while is hard for me, firstly go and practice. That's the thing, like manifestation definitely can be easy, but like certain skills may need to be developed, right? Like I'm not saying you need to visualize to manifest, but if you are taking this route, and if you are like putting in time, like yeah, feel free to work on it, right? Like don't think like, maybe I will just stick to affirmations because that's the easiest one, but that may not ingrain it in your mind the same way that maybe visualization could. So what I'm trying to get to is, don't be afraid to kind of put in the necessary work this way, because think about it, all the work that you're putting in essentially is mental work, right? So I'm not saying it's the easiest thing, but like I always give like clients exercises, right? Like, okay, think about a ball, or imagine like yourself being in the kitchen whilst you're in the bedroom and things like that. It's a muscle, right? As you're exercising it, it does get stronger. So definitely put in the work. There's no such thing as a person can't visualize, right? Everyone can visualize. It's just a matter of whether or not they have fully kind of trained themselves. And I think like you can definitely start that. But yeah, anyways, coming back to the video, so definitely feeling your desires natural as possible really, really, really helps. And yeah, so one way again is to immerse yourself in it fully, so that you like feeling your desires real, right? So that you are like in that scene, to the point where when you open your eyes, like you can't believe that you are in this kind of reality, so to speak, right? That's how much you can immerse yourself in it. And so what do you do after that? You just go by your life. Creation is finished, right? And the bridge of incidents from there has begun to unfold towards the fulfillment of your desire. That's the only belief that you need to hold, right? So that's it. So ultimately, if you can do that, that's one of those things that can really accelerate the process as well. And the other thing why certain things manifest faster is because you are not again, this comes back to the whole preconceived notions, I guess, but maybe you're not reinforcing the negative beliefs there, right? Having preconceived notions is one thing, but also you have to ask yourself, like with regards to your desires that aren't manifesting quickly, Are you, planting unfavorable thoughts in your mind all the time with regards to that, right? So what I mean is, let's say SP is not calling you, or SP is not giving you a commitment. In your mind, when you're not doing your manifestation routines, how are you thinking about that, right? Like, think about it that way for a minute. Are you thinking about your SP favorably, right? Are you thinking about the situation favorably? Or are you like, when things, like when you don't see things in the 3D, are you like, oh, I knew this person would do this to me, of course they would do this to me, they will never change. If these are kind of your thoughts, you are reinforcing your old patterns, your old story, right? So definitely, look into what you're doing when you're not thinking about, your desires, when you're not like, using any sort of manifestation routine, and that will definitely shed some light on this as well. But these are some of the reasons, right? So to sum up, like preconceived notions, childhood related things, not feeling your desires natural, checking 3D, right? Thinking too much about the how and whatnot, because these are things that you don't do necessarily for things that comes to you very easily, right? But these are things that you do for your, your very important desires. So, because there's not that level of trust, right? Because you are like, okay, is this too good to be true? Can it really happen, right? You're doubting the process somewhere. But if you can see it in your mind, the very fact that you can even ponder about its possibility means it already exists out there. That's the truth of the matter, right? So if you guys can do that, right, everything will flow, right? If you guys can believe and just persist in the assumption that it is already a done deal, and that all you really have to do is just assume that it's done until it hardens into fact in the 3D. If you can just come at it from that perspective, it'll just flow for you, right? So cut down on your triggers, like, don't check the 3D, assume the best as much as possible. And if discussing it with someone puts you down, then refrain from discussing and things like that, and just focus, right? Whatever helps you kind of keep that focus, whether it's affirming or visualizing or scripting or whatsoever, do that consistently. Don't slack off there, right? And of course your desires have to manifest quickly as well. Of course these desires have to manifest quickly as well, right? And I guess the big question, for again, like, maybe folks may not be convinced about this, is, well, why do I have to put in so much effort for this particular desire? If I am the creator of my reality, and if all things comes to, if I create the rules, then why does this have to be harder than other desires? Again, you have done that to yourself by having those kinds of preconceived notions. I'm not saying it's your fault, but the conditions that you grew up in and everything kind of played a role in this. And so you recognize that right now, and you have to do a little bit more, right, to kind of like close the gap there, essentially, right? Think about it like a RPG character creator, right? Like a role-playing game character creator, right? So you have, like, maybe you start off with like maybe 15 points, right? And then you have like luck, strength, agility, stamina and things like that, right? And then you can like put like certain points in all those. So some people may invest more in luck, some people may invest more in charisma, for example, right? And things like that. But that doesn't mean like you are set for those things for life, right? So what I'm saying is, you may not have certain abilities right now, right? You may not have the same strong beliefs in certain areas right now, like for SP, for example, but you can definitely work to kind of like bridge that gap, right? So to make it to a point where you can manifest a text from your SP as easily as you do from a friend, for example, right? You can definitely get to that point. But what I'm saying, or what I'm suggesting, is that essentially it may take a little bit of work due to past assumptions, right? Or because of your overanalyzing abilities, or you may be checking 3D, or just a lack of faith in the law, basically, because some things have naturally happened for you, but maybe this isn't natural for you. So it may just take a little bit of time for you to believe that, right? So yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think about it. Definitely let me know if this cleared your doubts. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment down below. If this video resonated with you, be sure to drop a like, share if this video inspires you, and if this really resonated with you, and if you want to share it with a friend, that'll go a long way for me. Be sure to subscribe, as I will be uploading new video every single week. Be sure to turn on the bell notification so that you guys will be immediately notified when I make a new video, guys. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy manifesting. Peace.